Okay, so this is kind of a review, but because we've learned sort of a lot of concepts, we want to make sure that we're able to put those into play. So far, what we've learned is the creating of variables. We've learned how to use an event trigger like a on click to pull up a function, right? To activate a function. And in here, we've done things like using specifically the document get element by ID. Is that right? Or is it by ID? Sample code. That's how we'll check out. Uh, by ID demo inner HTML equals whatever we want. Um, and so you have these things, but what we want to do is make sure that you can start to put them together. So we're going to just do some, I want you to do some practice using the events, the functions, and then specifically the being able to change the style. Right here we've done this inner HTML, but you want to be able to change the style, and it's not exactly CSS what you've learned. You have to find how we say it in JavaScript. But so let's say, for instance, style. Let's say see if color is right. Color equals red. Okay. All right. So what we want to do is make sure we're using the right instructions. And here, if you go to your review lesson, you can see here. So that should have worked. But I've given you a few of the sort of the syntax for how to change some of the declarations and the values that we're familiar with from CSS. So here's style.fontFamily, right? No dash, not like we use in CSS. And remember, it's case sensitive, so we have to do this camelback naming convention equals impact. Style border, and then you can put in your parameters there. Background color, no hyphen, camelback. Style color equals blue. Remember, you end with an apostrophe, a semicolon. So these are some that you can experiment with. I've also given you access to the W3C schools list of options, or list of what is it called? List of these are the JavaScript CSS. So for instance, here's background, background color, background image, and this is where you can use JavaScript to change things. Now I've sort of pulled out some with the examples of what you can do. Like for instance, style.transform rotate 30 degrees, right? So you can do that to rotate an object. And that's what I did for our sample here. Okay, so if you look here in the code, I created a button, I gave it an on-click trigger, and then sample code. So here it is. The style is transform, and you can see this should look familiar to you from our work with CSS. So translate 100 pixels on the x-axis, which is this way, 100 pixels on the y-axis, which is this way, and then rotate 30 degrees. And then I also gave the transition a element of 2 seconds, right? So that's what happens right here. So what we want to do, what I want you to do, is take some of these elements and experiment with some of the different event triggers that we've learned, right? On click, on hover, or on change. Go back to the previous lesson on the mouse events to see the list of things that you can do. And I want you to put those together with changing the CSS so that you feel really comfortable with having different events like this, changing the style over here. So that's on style. Now what we're going to be learning in the next few lessons are some of the methods and properties that have to do with the built-in objects of JavaScript, like text and numbers and dates and arrays. And then we're going to be able to start making it interactive where, depending on what the person enters in or what they do, it's going to change what happens. And so we're going to do that by learning conditional logic. That's like if-then statements. If you enter a 3, then this happens. If you enter a 4, this happens. If you press this button, this happens. If you press this button, this happens. But before we do that, I want you to make sure that you're familiar with what are the the most common JavaScript CSS rules that you're going to use. And so I put that over here. And make sure that you're familiar with some of the different event triggers that we learned using the mouse click and that sort of thing. So this is just a free-for-all. I want you to experiment here, but make sure that you can, for at least the common ones, that you can be familiar with how to change the values using a on-click button, for instance, and then experiment with a few other ones. All right, and then we're going to move on to looking at text objects and methods and properties after that.